that my account is closed. I went to see them. They said that I have to withdraw money within 24 hours.
Majid's not alone. Other Syrian UK residents have seen their accounts shut down too, though HSBC said it wasn't about race or religion.
This applies to customers with links to a country that is subject to international financial sanctions. In certain cases, an assessment of the risks involved may require ending a customer relationship.
Majid only received a warning once he'd spoken to the bank, even though they sent him regular statements. Living on less than €500 a month, Majid finds the bank's actions beyond understanding.
I've been left without any bank, without any card, without cash. They said that I didn't break any law and I didn't transfer any money. So why would they close my account? Is it only just because I'm from Syria?
HSBC paid a fine for money laundering in 2012, and this former banking regulator says financial scrutiny has led to institutions taking a cautious approach.
The banks will be concerned that the Financial Conduct Authority is breathing down their necks. They need to make sure that what they do is complies with the sanctions that are being put in place or the money laundering regulations.
That's meant little to Majid, though, or the many other Syrians in the UK who've had to scramble to rescue their savings.
Turning our attention to the markets now, we've seen modest mixed trading in Asia as we begin the week. The Shanghai Composite shrugging off news that new home prices in China fell for a third straight month in July, down an average 0.9% across the country. We've also gotten some new data showing that the Thai economy has avoided recession, growing at a rate of 0.9% in the second quarter, despite months of political turmoil.
OK, now, Kate, take us through some of the other day's business headlines. And apparently there's a massive trade agreement that could be back on track.
That's right. India's Commerce Minister has said the country will honour a global trade pact, this despite having vetoed it at the World Trade Organization. Last month, India refused to sign on to a $1 trillion agreement to ease trade restrictions, demanding concessions on allowing food subsidies to the poor. Officials now say negotiations with the WTO have not yet hit a dead end. Former US Vice President Al Gore is suing Al Jazeera America. He's accused the Qatar-based network of fraud and breach of contract in its $500 million purchase of Current TV, the cable channel that he founded. Al Jazeera relaunched the channel last year as its news arm focusing on the US, but Gore says it's refusing to pay tens of millions of dollars still owed to shareholders. And Credit Suisse may have been caught up in the collapse of Portugal's Espírito Santo banking group. The Wall Street Journal reports the Swiss group helped sell billions of dollars worth of securities to Espírito Santo's retail customers. The bank was bailed out and broken up earlier this month.
And finally, Kate, before we let you go, Amazon.com apparently is butting heads once again with a publishing house, this time in Germany.
Yeah, this is part of an ongoing and international dispute about the price of books, specifically ebooks that are sold on Amazon. Hundreds of writers from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland have now signed an open letter protesting Amazon's business practices. The letter accuses Amazon of taking longer to deliver books that are published by the Bonnier Group, which is a Swedish publisher, making false statements about whether those books are available on the site, and of removing the authors of those books from recommended reading lists. Amazon, you'll remember, has been locked in a similar dispute with the French publisher Hachette, and as increasing numbers of authors join that battle, it looks like this price war is far from over.
Gosh, I'm curious, Kate, as to why would they say that certain books weren't available? I mean, that is...
It's part of their backlash, a retaliation move, apparently. That's what the authors and the publishing houses themselves are saying.
Okay. Interesting. Kate Moody there with all the latest business news. Thanks indeed for that. Well, it's time now to catch up with what's making waves on the web. And that killing of Michael Brown in Missouri is getting a lot of people posting online. Here's Web News.
A fresh wave of riots broke out in the early hours of Sunday in Ferguson, USA, despite a curfew imposed by the Missouri governor to avoid looting. Tensions have been running high for over a week in the wake of the death of Michael Brown, a black teenager shot dead by a police officer on August 9th. Outrage has spread across the country, with hundreds of nighttime vigils being held on Thursday evening in large American cities, as shown by these photos taken in New York, Chicago, Denver and San Francisco. The amateur images show protesters chanting the slogan "Hands up, don't shoot," in criticism of the fact that Michael Brown was killed while unarmed. The demonstrators have made massive use of social networks to galvanise support. They've set up a Facebook page as well as a Google document accessible online. They aim to list the various protests across the states and make known to the masses how and when these gatherings are taking place. This vast protest movement has also attracted members of the activist group Anonymous, who are carrying out their own investigation in order to shed light on the circumstances surrounding Michael Brown's death. They've gleaned audio extracts from conversations between police officers in Ferguson just prior to the tragedy. Surprising messages have also arrived via Twitter from Palestinians, offering advice to protesters, such as not to touch your face in the event of being sprayed with tear gas. When publishing this photo on Twitter, promoting its latest collection of checked shirt dresses, the US clothing store brand Gap surely didn't expect to find itself at the centre of a media storm. Online, however, hundreds of people have expressed anger towards this photo. The reason for their indignation is the fact that the model in question is so thin. On social networks, many have berated the tweet, expressing alarm over the supermodel's extreme skinniness, which they feel is far from normal in terms of female standards. Worse still, through this communication campaign, some even accuse Gap of promoting unrealistic skinniness and of standardising anorexia. As a sign of protest, the net users in question have announced they will now boycott the clothing brand's products. This point of view isn't unanimous, however, as other net users defend the US brand, asserting that being thin isn't always synonymous with illness, and even less with anorexia. This controversy hasn't caused Gap to delete its contentious tweet, and is not a first in the world of fashion. The Italian lingerie brand La Perla already came under fire from net users last May, after installing in a New York store this dummy whose ribs were clearly visible. The brand eventually decided to remove the dummy after sparking an online outcry. Just like the Detroit flood is a hashtag currently being used by US net users to poke fun at recent claims made by Michigan Governor Rick Snyder. When asked to comment on the floods that have been affecting Detroit since last week, he said he understood the pain felt by families affected by this catastrophe, having himself recently suffered damage to the roof of his holiday property. This comparison was judged inappropriate by many net users, many of whom are now mocking Rick Snyder's comments. Verbal abuse often leaves as many marks as physical abuse. American photographer Rich Johnson wanted to raise awareness of this difficult message through his project entitled Weapon of Choice. The aim of the initiative is to sensitise public opinion concerning the damage caused by simple words. To illustrate the point, the artist asked victims of psychological harassment to appear as the subjects of his photos, expressing their suffering. These thought-provoking pictures can be seen on the site hurtwords.com. Having the chance to make a newborn photo shoot isn't only a privilege for the parents of newborn babies. This is what American photographer Jamie Klaus endeavoured to prove with his surprising idea to take photos of his neighbours holding their pet Jack Russell as though he'd just been born. These endearing and unusual snaps can be seen on the artist's website. Fans of Zorb Soccer, a sport deriving from football, offer a particularly impressive demonstration of their favourite pastime in this video. The extreme sport in question consists of a great deal of physical contact and spectacular moves on a football pitch, with players protected inside giant inflatable balls. The whole video can be seen on director Devon Supertramp's YouTube account.
Been in every corner, but I'm feeling disconnected.